Peace, love, and power, City Beautiful. I'm Jed Nico, your friendly neighborhood Filipino, and I welcome you to the Blacklist Society podcast. My mission is to connect, encourage, and empower all of you listening by showcasing our local artists, musicians, and entrepreneurs. I hope that you're inspired to find your voice and speak your truth through whatever creative modality that truly makes you feel alive. Because I believe that now, more than ever, is the time for us to build ourselves, build our communities, and most importantly, build our legacies. Without further ado, introducing this evening's guest. She is an out-of-this-world artista, entrepreneur. You may know her as the creator of the Gold Skull Wall at McQueen's Social Lounge, the one-of-a-kind, Alison Westborn.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Welcome. How are you?
So happy to be here.
Yes.
Every day above ground. Every day above ground's a good day.
Absolutely. Coming in, so we're like, 2 days away from Thanksgiving. By the time the audience hears this, we'll be in December. If you could describe how you're feeling in one word this November, what would that be?
Surrendered.
Surrendered? That's good. Tell me about that.
It's a good place to be when you finally do it. But this year kind of beats you up until you finally just surrender and let things flow and, be like water. So that's where I'm at. I'm water right now.
That's awesome. We did a sober November. So when I hear surrender, like there was a surrendering of some things just to get refocused for me and in the team. So I definitely identify with that.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of jealous about that now. Probably should have jumped on that train.
Well, December's coming around and then you have January. So I'm sure you'll get to do it. If you do call a sober month, let us know. We'll put it out there. We'll have a whole community behind it as well.
Oh, that's so cool.
Absolutely.
All right.
My brother Nabu Flynn, he was the one who called Sober November. And just off of the strength, I was like, you know what? I'm going to stand with you in that. And it's been so fulfilling. Like, it's honestly, every day has been teaching me something new. There's been some trials and some tests to overcome. But I'm so grateful to be doing it with people. Like, there's literally people that I know just off of Instagram asking, how's your Sober November? Like, tell me what you're getting. And it's just so cool,
Dude, community, you can do anything. Anything's
Absolutely
possible. I love that.
Well, speaking of community, that brings me to how I first met you. I jumped on a random Instagram live, and it was another artist that I know. His name's Herman Lemus. Shout outs to Herman. And I believe it was like a magazine or something where they were talking about artists. And I saw him mention your name. I think you were on the live, but he said, she's amazing. Alison is amazing. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, let me dive into this Alison lady. And I saw your feed and I saw the art, and it was just, when you hear a song and you connect with it and you feel it, that's how it was with your art. And I don't say that too often because I believe any type of artistic expression shares that. If you connect with it, it's something special. And when I saw your art, it was something that I could feel. And then I got a little bit deeper into your work and I would see like your captions with it. And I was like, man, she's a true artista, like painter, poet. Like you have a great way of communicating with your words as well. And then we kind of just connected from there, invited you out to a hippie hideout. You got to catch a vibe. You came out to the Psychedelic Cowboy show at the end. So I've always heard amazing things about you, but obviously they were nothing like meeting you in person. I mean, the vibe on your art is crazy and out of this world, but it's only because you're crazy and out of this world in the most amazing way. So just to say that there's nothing but good feedback about you in the community. That's literally my first introduction, was another artist saying, this girl's amazing. And it encouraged me to dive into your work. So as we dive in today, give us a little bit about the origin story of Alison and how you got involved in your artistry.
Oh, man. First of all, thank you. And that means more than anything to have other artists appreciate your work and, kind of welcome you into the community.
Absolutely.
How I got started was I was born.
Beautiful. I'm happy about that.
No, but I was definitely that little girl. I was 5 years old, always trying to create something. And I would be like full on in a dress, tutu, whatever, in the dirt. So like that's me still today. It's like girly, but like I want to get messy. I want to do all the boy things. I want to make stuff. So I've always been naturally a maker. My dad's a maker. He can make anything out of wood.
No kidding.
He did tree work.
Wow.
Which
So he's
was
a
also my
carpenter?
first job. Thanks, Dad. I was like 12, slave labor.
Working with wood?
Like doing tree work, like trimming trees.
Wow.
And hauling brush and whatnot. No, I love that experience. But we always had really cool tree houses, made everything from scratch. We didn't buy anything. We had cable slides and rope swings and all sorts of stuff. So just from getting creative with different materials, that kind of carried over. Whenever I first started drawing when I was really little, I remember the first time it hit me that this was something I was good at. I was probably 7, and I was looking out the window, and there was a pine tree. And so I'm drawing with pen, and my dad, who's not easily impressed, even by his 7-year-old daughter, he was like, oh my goodness. He's like, it looks just like what's out the window. And then my mom comes over, and then my teacher in elementary school hung it up for the class. Yeah. And then every kid from then on in elementary school, middle school, high school would line up at my desk to draw everything for them. And that's when I stopped telling people that I can draw.
At 7 years old.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just been an evolution. It's always been something I do to kind of cope and something I feel the need to do. There's definitely a certain divinity that comes through whenever I create. If
Talk
I
about
go
that.
too long without doing it, you can tell. Sometimes you just get in that flow, that zone. I know a lot of musicians who talk about this too, and it's coming from you. You're the tool, though.
Yeah.
Because it's coming from something much deeper. And then at the end, you look back and see what you created, especially if you have a session, you take a break, you come back to it like a month later and see what you created. You're like, wow, that really was what I was feeling at the time. So in doing that, my goal has always been to help put other people's energy into the pieces I create for them, which is also why anybody I create a piece for, I ask them what music they listen to.
I love that.
Yeah. And so like I have people make full playlists for me too, because that's how energy is transferred. And anytime I paint and there's a certain song I'm listening to, I can feel it and see it like change the movement of the paint, of the textures. Yeah.
That's dope.
I mean, it's real too. And people can feel that. And whenever I create for them and I really come from that place, they're like, how did you see through my eyes? And I'm like, it's possible.
You connected through their music.
Mm-hmm.
What was music like for you as a young artist? Like, what was your jams? Like, you know, between 7 to like that college realm.
You know, when I was younger,
What did you jam out to?
Oh man, don't judge me.
No judgment here.
Lots of country when I was young.
Dope.
Okay, I'm from California but raised Florida. And for some reason, when my mom moved here, she doesn't even like country. She listened to it. So I don't know. But then, I mean, I was so typical, Spice Girls, all that nonsense. I loved rock. I liked Limp Bizkit. I was, you know, I already knew from a young age that I wasn't going to be pigeonholed.
Gotcha.
I've always been rebellious against that. When people are like, you're this, you're a little girl. I'm like, no, I'm not. I can use a chainsaw.
That's awesome. No box for Alison.
No box. Don't box me in. Everybody else should feel that same way too. But it all came from, so from high school and stuff, I didn't dive into music like I am now.
Was music like that as important when you were creating your art in your younger years as well?
No.
Because now it seems like really integral.
Absolutely. I didn't realize how important music was in my life. It's not that it wasn't important.
Sure.
I just didn't realize how much of an impact it actually had. And, you know, it's our own personal time machine. Like you can, if you want to go back to a moment and feel how you felt, it's a good reminder of that. And for being in a world that has so many things that are designed to numb you or to distract you from your feelings and whatnot, you need that sometimes. That's why sometimes you hear a sad song and like you remember that breakup or whatever, but at least you're feeling.
Absolutely.
And it's like it's good to dive into that.
What shifted for you, like, or what album came out where you were like, man, now I'm connecting to music?
No lie, one of the, and this was There's a couple. Big Sean, like his I've Decided album was huge for me. And then also Swimming, Mac Miller.
Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, Mac Miller done saved my life. Just in a way where my eyes opened to that connection. It was one of the first albums I was front to back listening to.
Yeah.
And I realized how much I appreciate it when an artist does that and creates something and puts the time and energy to where there's a flow. And I feel like that's gotten lost or was lost a little bit with a lot of the music I had been listening to.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm like, okay, let's find this. And I love digging into just, okay, now who sounds like him? You know, all these things can tell you. You go to that artist radio, and now I'm listening to all these people, and then I'll listen to their artist radio. And now you're really drilling down to some unique voices, stuff that's not heard as much, and able to tap into different things. I call music, it's like a prescription.
Yes. Yes.
Like, what do I need to feel right now to channel?
Well, swimming's a good prescription.
It's a great...
Like you said, I think that was actually the first album I ever listened to by Mac Miller. And the sounds, I guess because in that time, too, there was a lot of, like, aggressive sounding stuff out there. But when I heard Swimming, it was, like, really liberating for me, you know, and it let my emotions flow. And it was just a different soundscape. And I could just imagine how easy it was to paint to something like that as well.
Oh, yeah. And that's when I was going through a lot. I was about to move back to Florida from Indiana. I was preparing for an art show. And so it was headphones on all the time. Mm-hmm. So I really needed something that had the layers, and he, I think, had reached a point that it was so clean and round in the sound, which it just showed a lot of growth. And then I got to dig back into all of his other albums. I'm like huge Macadelic fan. I mean, like, and just all of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What part of your journey did you decide you wanted to do art as your career, as opposed to like, hey, this is something I'm doing on the side? When did you say, hey, like, I'm giving my life to this thing. This is going to be my career, my business. What shifted, or how did that happen for you?
Half of it was, man, did I really start to sabotage anything I was doing before that? I've always been hella skilled in I love learning. So I've done real estate, I can design websites, I can do I would use my creativity and apply it to whatever I was doing, and any job I did take on, I would take it further, usually with their web stuff. I'm like, your website's garbage. Okay.
So that was kind of like your entryway, like digital design.
Yeah, and I would be doing really well and move up in companies pretty quickly. I love people. I like working with staffs and stuff. But then once I reach a certain point, I realized my interest just, once that left, then I'm late to things. I'm not getting stuff done on time. I'm making myself look bad. Yeah. So that was part of it. It's these red flags that kept showing up. And, you know, I would always paint when I got home, something like that.
Would you say you got bored with corporate? Is that kind of what I'm hearing, or restless more?
I got just like grossed out by corporate.
Gotcha.
And I worked for a good company. Like,
sure.
You know, I always try to see the best in everything, but the things that people put their energy in just to, you know, nasty grams and like just to make things more difficult for other people. And, you know, it just wasn't for me. That is for some people.
Sure.
I love interacting and feeling energy, and I don't know. I'm just much more of an artist in that way. So I stopped denying that. So that was part of it. The other thing was, so I had followed another local artist, Jay Bonadillo, the unsigned artist.
Is he here in Florida or in Indiana?
Orlando.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and he's phenomenal. His stuff is all over the place. Yeah. He does.
You guys collaborated at McQueen's, correct, for that one?
Yeah, so he was the one who headed up that entire thing and then brought me on.
Big shout outs to unsigned artists.
Yeah. But I was watching him on, so his Instagram, he was putting out so much work. Mm-hmm. And that's really the first time I was like, he made this a career. Mm-hmm. Okay. And like seeing somebody's work ethic and the variety of stuff and how quickly, I was like, I might be able to do this. Well, he had started following me and actually caught me painting this astronaut piece. and asked me to do one. So commission an art piece. And I'm like, what? This artist who I look up to heavy just bought a piece for me. Now I was caught like hands in the air. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm like, how much do I charge him? And so then finally I had to get answers to all those questions. I had to work through that process, and he still hasn't seen that piece today. Now it's become a thing. Now it's that piece is such a big part of the journey. It's been done for a long time, but that's a story for another day.
Did he request an astronaut?
So I was creating that one. He was like, is that for somebody? I was like, it's for my private collection. I don't even know what that means, but I thought it sounded really legit.
It's for my vault.
It's for, private collectors that are super rich. No. And he was like, well, could I pay you to commission one or whatever, do a duplicate? I was like, absolutely. So I did actually start two. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, I was like, what am I doing? I can't even finish one. I had a lot going on. And so then I X'd the other one. I ended up actually spray painting over it, using it as practice. And it's still an astronaut, but it's super abstract, like street art spray paint. I love it too. I named it Decoy. Because since he's never seen the real one, he's seen Decoy's the decoy.
We'll have to put a picture up on it for the audience to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll freeze frame it in there so they could see Decoy.
And
why'd you name it Decoy?
Because it's like the astronaut piece, but it's a decoy.
I love that.
Yeah, so I would often hide the real one behind that one, like if he was ever in the room or something like that. It's just a real funny situation. So
that's really cool. Like, off of that interaction with him, it kind of puts you in the mode where, like, I'm going to build a business out of that.
It's seeing something being done that, it's not that I didn't think it could be done by any means, but it felt so much more tangible. And then having that person buy back into you when that wasn't something that was common for him to do either. I mean, that was a big, like, green light for me. So from there, I started putting it out there, and that's really all it takes. And that's what I want people to take away from this too, who are creators and stuff like that. Put it out there. You got one life. Like, come on.
Absolutely.
You owe it to the world to share that energy. As long as you're doing something authentic and it's genuine, and, if you're doing it just to make money, people can feel that. And, like, you might find success in that to an extent, but you're going to be unfulfilled. And at the end of the day, not know why.
Yeah.
And that sucks. Find love and put it into whatever you do. I don't care if you make, like, sandwiches. I mean, I want you to put love into my sandwich.
Absolutely. So 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you had to arrive at a place of confidence before you started putting your work out there? Or was it like, I'm going to take a step out and just because I need to get this work out there?
It was kind of both. Oh, the cat. It was kind of both.
Simultaneous.
I've always painted stuff for people, but it would be like, this is kind of something that happened over the years, and I'm so glad I put a little bit of a stop to it. I can do realism to an extent. I don't heavy enjoy it unless it's my choice. But a lot of people would have me, I think I started it, like somebody's dog died. So I, painted them a picture of their dog and, emotional. Well, then they knew somebody and their dog had passed. So then I was getting on this thing of painting dead dogs, and I'm like, yo, this is so sad. I can't handle it anymore.
Why am I known for this?
It's like, okay, there's one thing I know that I don't want. I love, people's emotional reaction and stuff. But I was like, I don't want to be the deaddogartist.com. Like, let me just segue.
Listen, honey, I know someone you need to go see right now. She's going to help you get over your grief.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I can paint a dog though. But yeah, so I'd always done stuff for friends, and any time I did create things, anybody in my life who saw them would compliment. And, of course I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'm going to paint over it. That was my thing. I would have one canvas, and then I would just paint over it and paint over it, because it was almost like that. You know how they draw in the sand and then they brush it away?
Yeah.
Because it's not about that finished product being around forever. It's about going through the process of creating it and then knowing that it's not permanent.
Yeah.
So that was
That's
me
beautiful.
for a while. I got a tattoo that says "A beautiful start for unfinished art."
Woo, you came up with that?
I did. So that's, as a person, you're unfinished, hopefully forever. Hopefully you're always growing and adding to the art piece that you are.
That's awesome. I love that.
And then it was a thing that was kind of used to poke fun at me by a lot of people closer in my life when I wouldn't finish anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that, but I enjoy the process.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that's why I ended up getting it tattooed too. I'm like, I'm proud of that, because in life, I think that it pays largely to enjoy the process.
Absolutely. Do you keep like some of these unfinished pieces?
Oh yeah, a lot of them.
That's lovely.
I've finished, but now I finish things. And that's something I started doing before I left Indiana, which was why I randomly said I'm going to have an art show in 1 month. And then I made it happen. I had to finish stuff. And that was a huge thing to overcome for me, is to say when, especially when it's abstract and it's my choice.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
could paint something for 6 years and be fine.
I think that's really cool for artists to come to terms with too, like knowing that if you feel done with the piece, it's okay. Like I went to Italy and it was either Michelangelo or Donatello. I went to like a sculpting museum and I got to see some of the pieces. Like he actually didn't finish a lot of pieces because he said it's finished. A lot of people were like, hey, like, his legs are in a block of marble. And he's like, no, I like it like this. Like I feel at peace with that. And I've just started doing that with songs where instead of saying, hey, it's not 3 minutes long, it's a minute and 45, but like I felt complete on it. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there's so much freedom in that, and I think a lot of people can glean from that about you. Like if you feel that sense that hey, it's finished, that's what it is.
That's it. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And who's to say you can't come back to it?
And that's always an option. That's why people get very hung up, especially when they're creating like a physical thing or a visual thing. It's your rules. I mean, you get to decide. So, yeah, you might be pandering a little bit. All of us do it as artists. You try not to. You know your audience, and of course you want to connect with them. Mm-hmm. So that's always the goal, but don't let that drive you off the road.
100%.
Did
you ever like get traditionally trained, or is this off of the strength of your curiosity and experimentation?
I took art class in middle school.
Cool. The foundations.
Didn't we all? I was one of like 4 kids, and I love that because I got to work with a lot of materials. I didn't grow up with much, so it's not like I could get art materials too. That was another reason why I think I've become so creative with working with different stuff. I'm like, what's laying around? But being in class, you get to actually, try litho prints and clay and whatnot. So I did dive in and take advantage of that. But me and like 3 other kids in middle school got to kind of just do whatever we wanted.
That's awesome.
At a certain point, like halfway through the year, and then for the rest of middle school. And then come high school, I think I tried to take one class and I just didn't like the teacher. And that's very much how I am. If I don't believe in what you're putting out, I don't care if you're an adult or an authority figure, and I'm not going to disrespect you, but I'm not going to take your class.
Right.
And so then I didn't take another art class until my first year of college. I tried to take one, and it was miserable.
Really?
Oh my gosh. It was like a movie. I'm like, I didn't think that this actually existed.
Was it just dry, or was it the professor, or?
It was all of it. It was definitely the professor, and she was running the show, but it was a bucket of fruit in the middle of the room, and then she would come around and tell you how awful what you're doing is, and I'm like, of course, because I hate what's in the middle of the room. And she'd be like, no, it's bad. It's all garbage. No, that's not an ellipse. And I'm like, all right, well, I've got to go live my life now, so we're done here.
Yeah.
So, dropped that class, and that was the last formal class I had. I do wish in middle school, and so for anybody who has kids,
Mm-hmm.
art class isn't typically going to foster their true creative spirit. I felt like there were so many rules, and that's why I couldn't be an artist, really. It was when we would do graphite pencil.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why this really stuck in my head. She told me I couldn't like smudge it to create a really nice gradient. And I created the best gradient. It looks so good. She's like, yeah, but did you smudge? I'm like, what? Can you tell?
Yeah.
Like, if I don't tell you, do you know? Like, and she's like, you can't do that. I was like, okay, I guess not. So that set up a bad precedence for my choosing that as a path. I didn't follow the rules.
Yeah.
And then come to find out, I'm like, that's exactly what an artist is.
That's so liberating though too, to have that sense of not needing to follow the rules, because I know it shows through your art. There's a wildness, there's an untamedness behind it, and I think that's what possibly I and your audience connect with, that there's so much freedom in it, know. And just like, even, and we'll get into the pieces behind us, but we're surrounded by so much of your masterpieces and how they came about, and I love the stories behind it. And speaking of stories, let's talk about your first art event real quick. August 22nd, 2018, the Dirty Laundry exhibition, kind of like the origin for your art career in a sense. How did it come about at a laundromat?
I just always had this vision. So me and my friend Mikey, we were up in Indiana, and I don't know which one of us brought up, I think I had been painting, and he came over and he saw something I was doing. It was probably the astronaut. And one of us said, I think he was like, we should host a show. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm moving in 2 months and uprooting my entire life, but okay. And I was like, you know what? I have really wanted to do this concept. I was like, let me know if you're with me. And he's Australian. He actually, side note, was a producer for MTV in Australia or something.
Shit.
So he just got this really great, creative, outgoing mind anyways.
Yeah.
And can throw together a video like that. I've always pictured having an art show in a laundromat. I want people who are maybe used to going to a gallery, which for me has always felt very, I'm in there, I'm looking at stuff. I appreciate it. Probably most of the people walking through the door, but I don't like being looked at as if I'm lower because I don't have a Rolex. There's just a lot of judgment that happens when people are trying to push a sale and, think about their pockets, and mad respect to the gallery community in general. But there's some that you walk in that you want to walk out because the energy that they're putting off is not doing the artwork any justice. So I wanted to bring the people into a maybe a little more uncomfortable situation. Laundromats that are busy are usually in a seedier part of town.
Yeah.
And the thought was get dressed up. You're going to come to this laundromat, and half of them might have never had to go to one before, which is cool. And there's going to be art that's overpriced because I didn't price it. Lesson learned there too. Price your own artwork. But it was just such a cool experience. We decided to do it while the place was still open. We had the option of doing it while they were closed. I'm like, well, it's a Wednesday evening. How many people are going to be in there? And it ended up being kind of busy. But It was so great to see all these people kind of going around this massive charcuterie thing that we had created. And I invited anybody that was doing their laundry, have some drinks. One guy got throwed. So he probably, and he's just this old man, he probably went home and his wife was like,
he was going ham.
I thought you were at the laundromat. Where were you? It was awesome. It was chaos. I didn't have most of the framing done. I didn't have any wood tools then either, or really know how to frame out my work. So that was something, it was such a push.
And you put it, how long did it take for you to put this out there? Or put it together, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, we decided, that night we went to the laundromat. within minutes of the conversation. I brought a piece of artwork. We went and we shot like our little promo video.
Yeah.
Which is super fun, and talked to the owner the next day, and we had it within a month. And I wanted to have like 12 to 14 pieces. It was so aggressive. And I did. I think I probably had 12 pieces, and I sold some there. I let Mikey do the pricing because it was something that I was so uncomfortable with, and a lot of artists are feeling me when I'm talking about this right now. That's one of the biggest things in the art world.
Why do you think that is?
Charging value for something that up until the moment that you sell it has been an energetic release for you is hard. Usually you undercut yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like usually you're like...
Is that just like a sense of like a humility? Like, or is it...
I think a little bit. I think a little bit of it is also being afraid of the rejection.
Gotcha.
Like you always kind of want that sale, and you know, so you're like, okay, how much was the canvas? I used like 3 ounces of paint, you know, and you're like, let me charge $2 over that, and that maybe they can afford it. But if not, it's, you know, until you build that confidence. And really, I'm not sure which book I listened to of the many, and a lot of books talk about this, but one put it in the way that energy is an exchange of, money is an exchange of energy. And so it's okay to accept it. It's okay to have that transaction. I was like, dope. Everybody give me their energy and their money. I'm just kidding.
What's your advice for artists in helping them come up with like a realistic, respectable price for their art, whether they're an artist, whether they're a musician, whether they build websites? Like, what's your advice to them in being honest with the value of their work and standing on that?
I would say don't be afraid to start kind of low. It's not going to stay there. If you're putting out work, and then if that's now turning over and now you're doing a lot of pieces for $50 or something, then you bump it up. And that's how early on you can start and not feel like you have to immediately create a $300, $400, $500 piece. And, you know, for some people, they wouldn't blink at that. But if you are an artist just starting out, you know, there's no shame in just getting an idea by experimenting with the pricing. Try to sell to your friends and family. And, you know, they'll ask, most likely. They'll be interested in your pieces first. So, you know.
But it comes from that experimenting. Like, you got to put it out there first.
Yeah. And of course, I reach out to other artists. I know people do that, and they'll be like, you know, you just kind of have to figure it out. It really is. You got to know your audience. And don't be afraid to get value out of it. You got to count those hours that you're putting into it too. And if you're spending too much time on pieces, you're never going to get the value out of it. So if you're actually talking about doing it as a career, to get over that hump, you also have to work on your discipline and those mechanical parts of being an artist. Although I do a lot of abstracts, the only reason I'm able to I can create a piece in an hour if I wanted to.
What?
It depends.
How big are we talking?
It just depends.
Okay.
Oh, I'll fill up this room with paint right now.
Ooh.
But I'm a layers person, so that for me usually doesn't do it. Like, I'm not done if I'm the one saying. But if it's realism, I can really pump out some pieces sometimes if I'm in the mood. But I had to practice that discipline. So, you know, I love passive learning. That's something I would definitely encourage artists to do, is set up your life to where you're always experimenting with things that could benefit your skill set.
Yes.
First of all, writing's good for you regardless. You know,
writing.
Like journaling.
Yes.
So if you don't really like writing words, you're also trying to be an artist, and combine some things, draw. Like, I was for a while really trying to get disciplined about every night saying, draw something. I don't care if you're not in the mood. I don't care if it sucks. I don't care. It's going to be garbage half the time. That's fine. Write down how you feel. So I have a lot of like sketchbooks that are a mix of drawings and lyrics and whatever. And sometimes it would be incredible, and I'd be so on point with my vision, and then days I wouldn't be.
Do you feel like it kind of like clears out like the blockages, like leaning into a different modality like that?
It can. It exercises that muscle that really a lot of rebellious folks such as myself might have a harder time with, which is discipline. Because when you're able to kind of like skirt your way through like good enough and I'm skilled on the dime, you don't have to do that, but you also don't have to be a great artist. And
facts.
Why wouldn't you want to give yourself the best chance to whenever you are at your studio? Now you know exactly what the proportions need to be for a human body.
Yeah.
These things are out there. And so if you can kill two birds with one stone and help your growth, what that did for me really was on the days where my stuff was on point, I'm like, okay, how did I start my day? What did I eat today?
Yeah.
Like, reflect on what made you feel like you were grounded enough to put something out that efficiently.
Yeah.
Like efficiency is a make or break for artists. And then on the days where it's like, whose hand drew that? Did I draw it with my foot? I don't know what's going on. Like, probably dealing with something emotionally.
You could see the context of your day.
And that usually means I need to go do something abstract because something beautiful might come out of that. So it's never a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's, there's beauty in failure, and you better fall in love with failure.
Absolutely. I want to, cause you dropped two gems that I want to highlight. The first one was, you're the first artist painter who actually like said they'll lean into a different modality, like writing or whatnot, just to break out of that. Like when the pandemic happened, I had ill writer's block, right? But I put on like a cherry blossom tree on YouTube, and I was like, I'm gonna paint this motherfucker, and I did that. And afterwards, like for some reason, like I was able to like paint through like my block, you know what I'm saying? Or if I'm stuck on a song, like I'll write a poem, and like because I'm not focused on making the world's greatest poem, I'm just focusing on like expressing through the poem or through the paintbrush. So I think that's really cool for the artist out there. If you're a hip hop artist, if you're a painter, if you're an artist with your entrepreneur, like if you feel like you're in a place of being stuck, like experiment with different modalities. I think that's a huge gem that you brought up. And the second thing was the discipline. I feel like you were just answering my notes as you were just talking, so I wanted to highlight that. In terms of discipline, so you do art full-time?
Yes.
So as a full-time artist, like, do you have a daily routine that you kind of put yourself through? Or like, what are some benchmarks for success that you set up? Like, is it the same every day, or is it more like I'm going with the flow? Or do you like plan your weeks?
Usually planning a week is how I have to tackle it, because
Gotcha.
I work on a lot of different things at once. And I would like to get better about having the same routine, but it's unrealistic.
Do you feel it helps, like having the routine?
Absolutely.
And that kind of structure? Okay.
If you can, yes.
Because there's some artists out there, they're like, man, I just go with the flow, man. Like if I'm not feeling it, I don't do it. But like I feel that you have to marry the discipline and the grind with the wanting to do so. Like I believe in going with the flow as anybody else, but there's certain ingredients that bring a successful day or a successful work week. Yeah. What are your ingredients? Like if you want to have a kick-ass week and you want to get some pieces done and you really want to just shoot it to the moon, like what are some of your ingredients that are must, non-negotiables, that are part of your routine or your week?
Preparation's key. And this is all stuff like I'm newly really toning in my own practice.
Gotcha.
So one of them is I've really realized that I need to have my stuff framed out and the canvas already wrapped before I create the piece. And I would do it on raw canvas for a while and then frame it and then continue to work on it, just to save space in my studio, because you can roll it up and store it, and that's much easier on space. But I use so much texture. And when I first started painting, I painted on wood, because I just like to beat it up. Like
just like any type of wood, plywood, or just
no, I was doing it on panel board that was finished on both sides, so it wasn't non-absorbent. I had a particular whatever, but I want to bring it to that next level, and to do that you really have to pay attention to those details, and learn how to wrap the canvas yourself or buy it. Know your strengths. I don't enjoy building frames.
But you can. I've seen you do it on your story.
Yeah, totally. So that's part of it. That's something that will be becoming a non-negotiable. And then showing up to the studio every day, regardless if you want to be there or not. If I am unable, because my studio is not in my house, if I don't feel like I'm going to be useful in the studio, I always have things I can supplement. So there's always graphic design work I can do, my website that I can work on, even getting content for social media together. So like if you're feeling you're in a block, put your energy towards something else. When you're running yourself as your own business, regardless if it's art, anything, there's always something that can be done. And so, don't be too relaxed on yourself. Like, you'd be surprised. There's been so many days where I push myself to a new limit.
Come on.
That, and then now you have that.
Yeah.
Now you just have to taste the success and what it feels like to persevere past your own really ridiculous blocks. We have ridiculous reasons why we don't do things and why we don't get them done. And being dead honest with yourself is another really transformative thing in this whole process and creating a business out of it. So doing that, I always, for me, I need to have a lot of supplies, because I don't ever know what I want to work with.
Gotcha.
For some reason, I'm still working on this, but if I'm down to like one tube left of a certain color, I won't touch it. It's like, because if I run out, I don't know, like the world runs out, I can't just go get more. I don't know.
But putting the pieces in play where you can play more, and not feel constricted by a limited, amount of paint or whatever the artistry is.
And the other thing that really is something that has helped, and it's not really routine, but it kind of is having the right atmosphere for me to create. You need to know yourself and 100%. Experiment with that too. Know what gets you in that mood. For me, I don't care if I'm by myself, nobody's going to see me at all. I get ready to an extent. I mean, some days are different, but some days I'm full makeup, because it's about how I feel. It's not about who's going to see me doing it. And I have a entire ladder situation that I've made into shelves, and I just love it. It takes up space in my studio that actually should be used for storage, but it has my trinkets and some sparkly stones and my candles on it.
And these are must. This is what creates your atmosphere.
It's the lighting, it's all that. And the reason why, so I'll paint by candlelight a lot of times too, and have a color changing light somewhere. And the reason why I do that is because I want my art to exist in homes that burn candles.
Yeah.
I want my art to be in that atmosphere, so I'll paint in that atmosphere.
It also adds to the work. There's elements of breaking through in your work. There's elements of light and sound, and it's you could feel these elements. It's crazy.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
But it's because as you're saying it, I'm it makes sense now. It's there's more appreciation for your work, which is why I was so excited to bring you on, so people can hear the different aspects that go in and how deep this really goes for you and for the person receiving the art. You know?
And I think the other thing that works in my favor is I'm obsessive about it. I am full blown, just passionate, obsessive to the point where I think you started following me right when I had a few all-nighters where, I mean, I painted till like 6, 7 in the morning.
Oh yeah, I was like, this is a night owl. She's a night owl for sure.
I fight that. Ugh, I've always been on California time. I said I never changed.
I mean, if you could balance it, but I love it in the fact that like I would be randomly up like at 2 or 3, and like you'd be like, yo, check it out. Like, what am I doing? And it kind of felt like that Da Vinci thing, like, you know, like everyone's sleeping, but like, you know, he's burning the midnight oil, working on his craft, not in a sense of like burning yourself out, but because you're so excited about doing it. And I know we'll talk a little bit about that with the balance, but I get that from you, that your passion keeps you up in a good way, and there's probably some balance that you need to bring into that area.
When you catch the flow, you also need to realize, because the only reason I would even feel bad about that half the time was because I'm like, I'm a degenerate. I'm at Perkins at 7 a.m. like with these old people. I paint all over me. I don't know what's happening. But
I loved that.
yeah, but who's judging me?
Exactly.
It's not, you know, I don't have kids. I don't have like, this is the reason for this life. And I remind myself of that all the time. When I have those moments, I need to chase them and be unapologetic about it.
Yes, absolutely. I got a message from you. I got a DM from you one time, and it made me so like value what you do, because you're like, hey, sorry I got back to you late, but I was in the flow, you know what I'm saying, and I didn't want to lose it. And you went on to say, like, because sometimes like if you stop, you lost it, you know, that feeling that you were painting with, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's the same with music. Like sometimes I'll like stop writing a song because I didn't feel like completing it, but then now the vibe has changed. But I love the fact that you chase the vibe. No, I don't want to say chase, but you value it so much that you want to like nurture it and see it like blossom to its full potential.
Exactly.
So I really enjoy that about what you do as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely, I have to stop myself at certain points. And this is where there's that tipping point of I'll chase that and I'm on it. And then there's a point where if I've pushed too far, then I start messing up everything I just worked for. And
how do you know? I think this will be helpful for the audience too. Like, how do you know when, okay, because I can sense it. I can't put words to it and I can't explain it, but I can sense when I'm like, now I'm like trying too hard for some, like there's another driving force behind it. Like, how do you sense, and how would you tell people to sense like, yo, ease off a little bit, take a break, or like self-care type shit?
You'll feel it. You're forcing it.
Gotcha.
You'll feel this resistance. And so, you know, there's a big part of this practice is getting to know what to do when that starts to happen. And sometimes it is pushing through it. It depends, like, you know, if you're, you know, new energy and you have that in you, all day, learn to work through it and push through it. And what I do sometimes will go do something more disciplined, do some realism, do, you know, if I'm doing abstract, I need to do the opposite for a minute.
So kind of like drilling, like, you know, getting back to foundation type stuff.
Yeah. Or if I'm doing realism, take a break, do some abstract, just really shake it up. For me, getting out in nature always helps, you know, just get out of your head, get out of the studio. And if it's something that is persistent, I've had block for, like you said, during the pandemic, you've had that like longer term, that is the worst feeling. It's uncomfortable. You feel like you can't get something out. But for me, when that happens, I have to take a step back in my life and say, what am I not processing about myself, my emotions, what have I gone through, what, you know, and really tackle that, because what we do is so attached to our inner being. Even if you're doing a piece for somebody else, that can get in the way, of course. So, you know, it's deal with your shit.
I do this for the city, but like that, what you just said, like I'm taking that home with me. Good. You know what I'm saying? Because like it's going to be engraved in my mind, like just shaking things up when I feel like I'm pushing it too hard or pushing it too much. And Tommy knows, like I have a lot of ideas and I'll try to put it all in motion. And I like that. I think I operate like that, but there is also a point where it starts to knock your focus and now things are getting blurry. But I think some of the things that help me, like I'll go to like the springs, you know, I'll just like kind of like snap myself out of, come back, like you said, come back to nature, or switch up the modality or switch up the beat in the instrumental. But I think that's going to help a lot. That was actually one of my questions, but I'll get to the second part of my question was this, like everybody, and I'm sure you agree with this, like I love creating when I'm in a blissful, happy, euphoric state, but life happens. And sometimes you're in a state when it's difficult to create, whether that be anxiety, whether it be hurt, whether it be maybe just vulnerability, or maybe something from the past comes up. Like, what are some things you do to help release and express from that place of just like therapy? Because in time past, and I'm sure a lot of artists will identify with this, like if I feel like a sense of depression or something from the past come on, or like go through like pain, I've gone through times where I just completely stop creating. And I know that stunts artists, like, oh, I'm not in the place for that, you know. But I've gotten to a place where there's real therapy behind that, when you can, as long as you're honest and true, you can work through those emotions and release it through whatever modality. And I hope that everybody can learn how to do that. Like what helps you when you're in that place of like uncomfort and you're like, hey, I want to hash this out through art?
If I'm hashing out through art, and I'm kind of like you too, and you know, it's funny, I think the majority are kind of the opposite, but I'm best when I'm just happy.
Yeah.
Like that's when I can create some real beauty in a quick flowing way.
Yeah, there's some fire on it.
Yeah, and you know, maybe the time thing that's relative, because I think it probably takes about the same amount of time when I'm creating through pain, but it feels so much longer. But yeah, just diving in and doing what you do and saying, okay, this is why, and maybe set aside any projects that are paying the bills and do something for yourself. That's something for me that really helps. Take away all the rules, go back to basics, and just give yourself that space to release. One thing that really helps me in general with creating the way that I do is I always have a box that I set aside that I have like the little bit of paint is left, you know, in tubes, and it collects in material that I haven't used in a long time, and it's a use the stuff in this box before the end of the month or it's getting thrown out box. And that's what I'll bring out when I have times like that and I need to really crack something, because
that's so cool.
Yeah, there's no loss of material there. I'm not like, oh, I don't want to use my good stuff. Like, this is a way to kind of recycle and like be mindful about the stuff that you use, make sure you're getting the most out of it. But that's that experimentation for me is very therapeutic.
Come on now.
And you know, you're not wasting time when you're taking care of yourself mentally. So like, you might feel like you're wasting time, but all you're going to do if you keep resisting dealing with it is creating stuff that you don't like, and you have to go back and redo anyways. So you will, you know, it's on the tail end. If not, it's going to get taxed. Either way, take care of yourself, take care of your mental health. And then also get in your body, move. Yeah. I love dancing.
Yes.
So like, you know, if working out something,
your moonwalk is impeccable.
You know, it's been through a lot of moons. But yeah, like dancing for me is something I have to be able to do. That is something with my knee injury.
Yes.
That was a couple of days of big realization.
Yeah.
Oh man, take care of your body, because it will let you know when you are not.
And even then, you still kind of created through that process of having a knee injury, and you had a phenomenal week of creation.
Thank you for paying attention too.
No, absolutely. That's why I was so excited to have you on, because I think there's so much about who you are and what you do that the community can glean from. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure you've had some pieces where you got like really raw on and like were able to hash them out. And coming into to the tail end of the podcast, I kind of want to talk about some of these pieces back here, because you actually brought in one of my favorite pieces, and we'll put it on the screen for the audience to see. What's the title of the piece right behind you?
So that's Saturn Return.
Saturn Return. Mm-hmm. What's the story behind the name?
So have you heard of a Saturn Return before?
Have I heard of Saturn? Was it no?
Okay, so it's like I think it's
like a phase of it.
It's a phase of where Saturn was at when you were born.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to return to that same position every like 27, 29, 30 years, something like that. And it's like astrological, and I am no buff, but this was something that kind of came up for me around that age. That's whenever I was leaving Indiana and stuff like that. And, long story short, if you are on the path that you're supposed to be on, your Saturn return won't be super disruptive. If you are not on the path that is meant for you, say you're on this road, it will pick you up abruptly and put you, wherever to then figure out your new way. And that's what it feels like. It is.
How often does it happen?
I think it's just, a couple times. Maybe.
A couple times in your lifetime,
I think it might be every 27 to 30 years.
Yeah. I remember you put it on your post. You spoke about it really well. The crazy part is that like you could feel that though.
Yeah.
Like this piece right here, because I felt that. I felt like, man, I'm in a good place, like in alignment. Like, like things are just booming, and you could feel the energy behind it, which I'm so glad that I can be around it here, because I could feel it through my iPhone screen, but being like, helping you with it in the car, I'm like, I can feel like the energy behind this thing. It's like a crystal, like it's just straight vibrating, and I connect with it so much, and the gold in it, the color, and I love how you make it to where it changes with the different light that you could put on it.
I'm a big light user in general, but yeah, that's why I always say my artwork, I want people to be able to experience it. I like them to be able to touch it for the most part.
I love that, because when I was picking up the pieces, I was like, man, I don't want to trip on a damn thing. I was looking if there's plants, if there's chords, and you were like, man, just get in there. Like I designed it for that, and I think that's so cool, because it's just a different level of connectivity with the art.
Yeah, it's like whenever you see a nurse pick up a newborn baby and you're like, wow, that's aggressive. That's how I am with my art. For the most part. There's certain ones there's certain ones that, like, if it's all white, I try to be a little more hands off. But yeah, that piece, it was definitely one of the first, like, unruly, just me and creating. And when it was done, and I was like, I like it, I don't know why, but I love it. And I was going through a lot when I created it. And, it was multiple sessions. And it definitely helped me find my path. And it's crazy. So cool. A lot of people go through a really big transformation around that age. And whether that's just coincidence, if it is the stars and whatnot, it's a thing.
Yeah.
And it made sense for me at the time that, like, I wasn't using my God-given gift for anything. And I knew how much healing it can bring people, and, bring them into joy through my art. Like, why wouldn't I want to do that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I hope that we can find a way to let the city see more of what you do as well, because, I mean, if you guys like what you see through social media, like, it really doesn't do it justice. And real quickly, the piece behind me on my right shoulder, tell us a little bit about this one.
So this is a newer venture I'm going on, which I'm super stoked about. You touch it. And it's me being disciplined and only using white, which I love. Like, when I walk into a room, I love if there's a lot of chaos for there to be just a big white piece, but I need something else. So creating texture that interacts with light for me. Usually it's a color changing light I have, and then, it's going to adapt whatever it's around. And I'm going to play with different materials and colors with it, but this will be a thing.
Yes.
There's more to come.
You said it's a new venture for you?
Like, yeah, I'll definitely do.
What inspired that?
I just, like I said, I love the way light is captured. I have different mirrors in my studio, and like I'll set up a candle and then have the mirror like adjacent to that, and then a color changing light is shining through this glass that's deflecting it, and then
That is too cool.
I've always been obsessed with making light travel around a room without using more lights. And I want my art to also grab it in different ways. So if I can create images, and then you have something that's moving, because light's moving throughout the day, or whatever you have going on. And I just think it's another element, and it's like paint to me.
I think it's such a cool part of your genius. Like I said, like I just have like this vision of you like Da Vinci in the workshop, just like putting lasers and stuff and like fog machine or something to create it. I love it. I love it.
I kind of wish people could peek into my brain and see like the chaos that goes on, but
I think this is a good way.
Yeah, this is good. This is a consumable way.
Yeah, like this is what I want you to see.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the piece right here. This is an OG piece from your first exhibit, correct?
Yeah. So that was also created when I was up in the Midwest, and this was some of my first experimenting with really nice like artist spray paint. This was right after Decoy, and that's when the background was created. I used gold leaf in it, and then also there is like rose gold nails that line at the bottom. I know. Like I said, if it's within,
I see it now.
If it's within reach, like it might end up on the painting.
They're literally nails.
Yeah, and like at this point it's traveled and stuff. Like this one has really been beat up, but some of the nails are falling off, and like it's fine.
Tell us about the woman in the piece.
So the woman, it's crazy. The background was kind of all there, and it was one of those things I really needed to paint one night. I was frustrated going through it, and I was like, I just need to do something. So I grabbed this that already kind of had this abstract thing going on, and I just started painting. And I mean, hell if that is not me. Like, and I didn't have a reference. I didn't have an idea. And that a lot of time is how a lot of my work is. I might have an idea of where I'm going, but a lot of times that changes, or it just creates itself. Mm-hmm. I'm sculpturing the paint in a way, and it's telling me what it wants to be. But for this, I step back afterwards. I'm like, wow, that's literally me drowning in the emotions that I was going through at the time. So,
I was going to ask, like, what's kind of like her state?
Yeah, it's part like consumed, and then also what I've seen a little bit is where the head would be, if not underwater, is almost this. There's a couple different heads that you can see, and they're very shadowy, so it takes time spending time with it. And the last one kind of has like a wolf head feeling.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, that's right. Raised by the wolves. My first impression on the painting was like, okay, like I could see the consumed feeling, but like the way like she's like positioned and relaxed, there's like a confidence, like, but I'm gonna hash this out. Absolutely.
Like it's so cool because I don't know. I just want to leave it at that. But.
Yeah, that's hopefully always what I'm putting out there, because what I want people to grab from my work too, or from me in general, and like. Struggle's okay. It's gonna happen. Like you have to learn how to bob and weave, and find joy in the lessons that you take from it.
Yes.
And that's kind of my I think I have another piece. I mean, this one kind of has this.
Yes, tell us about
theme
it real
too.
Quick.
So, woman in the bathtub. It's severely overflowing, and she's just kind of chilling. And that's, we feel like that sometimes, but it's also cool to be like, this is okay.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm going to clean this up.
That's surrender. I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to persevere. I'm going to get through this. I've done several pieces that were my just, kind of divine, what word am I looking for? I don't know, just tapping in with what I'm going through. And these ones I will paint over still, because it's not a piece. It'll be like on scrap, but where it's a very calm woman or feminine energy, and then a lot of chaos surrounding. but it's this warrior spirit that I think that I tap into when I need to get through something.
Yeah.
It'll also come out sometimes in wolves or like leopards for me. It just something about, just like I use music as the remedy for a lot of stuff. If I need to tap into an energy to get me through something, I will tap into a warrior spirit, or that of the lion. Like, what do I need today? And sometimes that's my wolf pack. Sometimes it's like, I'm not in this alone. I'm going to take on that energy because, look, I got so many things at my back working for me. So, there's things that have been around, ancient stuff that we can grasp outside of what is put in front of us and told to us. These are our only options.
I'm so grateful for you bringing in these pieces and explaining the passion, the grit behind it, the discipline. Super grateful. And before I get into my last question here for you, I kind of wanted to share some quotes with the audience. These are Alison Westborn quotes. One of them was build your life around learning skills that will serve your purpose in the future, which you talked about and you kind of showed in your journey. So I love that. This one kind of talks about like your opinion on struggle, which was struggle is and will always be a part of life. It can be as beautiful as it is painful, which I love that can be a tattoo. When I read that, like struggle can be as beautiful as it is painful. I think a lot of people in 2020 will definitely identify with that. And you saying, my saying during times of struggle is, stop making happiness so complicated. I love that. Like just the simplicity of surrendering to the moment, kind of like this OG piece, like this is, I'm feeling consumed, but it's not going to last forever. And the crowning quote was the essence of life are the tiny things like the sunset or watching ants do some shit. Like they are always on a mission, and it's hilarious.
Get outside and go watch some ants do some shit. It's crazy. They all have different jobs too. I'm telling you, this is a thing.
I cracked up hilarious when you said, like, I was outside in my backyard. I was like, this girl is hilarious. Like when we make like an Alison Westborn gallery, those quotes are gonna be like on the walls there. Which so
transformative.
I love these quotes. I think they need to be on some t-shirts, and I know that the audience got a lot out of it, whether they're entrepreneur, musician, artist. Coming into my last question here for you, when the book is closed on your life and people tell your story, what do you want your legacy to be?
She taught me how to tap in the good in everything, to always find joy. You gotta remind yourself about what joy feels like, and wherever that is for you, wherever that lives, like it's always there. So, no matter how deep you feel or who you are, where you're from, or what struggles you have. And also, like, we are all in this together. We're so connected. Let's take care of each other. That's it.
I love it. I love it. Where can the people find you, what you're doing, what you're going to be doing next?
So you can find me at alison.westborn, because I was too lazy to do the other one. I have it, but the switch.
We'll put it on the screen for the audience.
And then AlisonWestborn.com. By the time this launches, it will be launched, because I'm not letting it not. My website will be done.
You got some amazing digital work on the website.
Oh man, I cannot wait for that. That's exciting. Yeah, some of my digital art will be on there and stuff. And you can just, if you want to see some of my work, the only place that it really is in person right now, if you're in Indiana, it's in a restaurant called Cholito. I'm hungry now. Cholita, sorry. And then here you can go to McQueen's and check out the Skull Wall.
Definitely, that's a must.
The place is super dope. I love, like, and I'm not just being biased, like the atmosphere is awesome. It's great because they're like really relaxed, or no dress code, but you're in a elevated experience, which I just love. But yeah, and a lot of the custom design elements in there were tackled by artists, so go support them.
Go check out her work. Go follow Alison Westborn. Any shout outs to your friends, family before we end the podcast?
shout out to anybody just, supporting local art in general. And, that's it. And anybody who's trying to make somebody smile every day. And that sounds so corny. I'm sorry. But, like, for real, especially kids right now, just imagine what it's like for them. And I know we're all adults and we have all this heavy stuff going on. But, like, take a second and maybe shield them a little bit and,
Yes.
and make a kid smile. Like, we need it. That's all.
I'm going to put that on my to-do list. We're super grateful for you coming in, for blessing us with your work, for letting us peek behind the genius of who you are and what you do. We celebrate you. We honor all of your accomplishments. We look forward to see what you're doing in 2021. You got Blacklist Society, full support. We hope to have you on again. So if you aren't already, wake the fuck up. Follow Alison Westborn. Go pop in McQueen. Show some love. Dive into her story. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff on Instagram. It's at BLCK List Society. And Orlando, this one's for you. We love you. God bless you guys. Be safe. Enjoy the holidays. Be blessed. Be safe. Be you.